Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I am in San Francisco, California, and this is the Cult of Frisco. It's a Doctor Who podcast. It's a sub-podcast of the Nerdrotic Podcast. And I am with my co-host, Jon Reed, who is up in Northern California as well. Sebastopol, what is up?
Hey, how's it going? Coming to you from my kitchen. This is it's Saturday, so we got Doctor Who, we got American Gods. This is fun. So I'm excited to get into where we're going in Doctor Who, right? Like this episode, the last episode, they're fun, but I feel like the meat of what we've been waiting for is still to come. So yeah, I don't know, like see where we go with this breakdown. But I'm happy to be with you from Northern California. It's too bad we couldn't get together in person.
Yeah, that'll happen someday.
Our wives hung out on Friday without us. So.
Yeah, I heard it went well. Did a little hair. Melissa loves her, so that's great. And she got to.
Melissa, Suzanne was like, "Yeah, Melissa's such a good boss. Like, she's got that place running. Like, so yeah."
Oh yeah, she just runs it like she runs the household. Same difference,
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like a mouse. You just point and click. I'm really good if you point and click me in that, but I'm also like a magpie. So I'm like, ooh, pretty lights.
Yeah.
The doctor.
If you forget to point and click, you just kind of spin in circles.
I do the little surly, like my computer was just doing. YouTube was having some problems, at least on my end, but it might be that my two sons are right over there, both doing internet gaming stuff. So that might affect our internet a little bit. Hopefully not too much during this podcast. Jon, I kind of wish we had, when we do, I'll try in the next couple ones. We got a couple of commenters who come on pretty regularly, and they just have great insights. Yeah. And I want to get the live chat going. So the next two, we're going to get the live chat going during this podcast, so we can get some interaction, especially
one of us can monitor it, or we can even have a third party come in and produce it a little bit for us. This is kind of a mom and pop operation going on. So but right now, to get a moderator in there for us to help us out with that live chat. But yeah, that's a good idea for the last 3 episodes, or the last 2 episodes plus the Christmas episode. I think, for sure, we should get the live chat going.
Oh, and I hope you're ready, because I do Christmas episode on Christmas.
I'm ready.
Yeah, I eat dinner with my family, and we watch Doctor Who, and because my first experience like watching a full episode of the modern series was on Christmas, so it's kind of I can't wait.
I feel guilty that I'm missing an episode of Game of Thrones on my wedding day. I have no problem podcasting about Doctor Who on Christmas. So my priorities are in order.
I think they're totally in order right now. How dare you get married on a Game of Thrones episode, but how did you know they were going to delay the season? So exactly. As you can see, I'm in my American Gods garb because I don't want to deal with a costume change, so please forgive Whovians. All right, so this episode it reminds me a lot of In the Forest of the Night, which came before the final episodes with Missy in season 8. It was just a nothing episode to me. And it had some sweetness to it, but it was, like you said, it was a lot of what was it? A lot of
negotiating in caves.
Yes, a lot. And was the plot like very similar to last week?
It's we had the same episode. I mean, it's history instead of like future, I guess, or it's like I guess they're both historic. I don't know. Yeah, one was like steampunk Victorian, and one was like Roman Britain, right? Roman invasion of Scotland type of stuff. So they were like set in different eras and different like themes. So they like basically wrote the same episode and decided to do change up the art direction. Like that's all changed.
Like right down to there was a deserter or a group of deserters, and Bill fell through a hole, and then she had a very modern discussion with a Roman about sexuality.
I loved it. I loved how he's like, "Oh, so you're narrow-minded."
Yeah, I love that.
You only like girls, and she's like, "What are you? I'm normal. I like both."
Yeah, typical Roman. That was actually Greek, but it's okay. Wow.
Yeah, I love that. I love that scene.
Yeah, that was funny. It was funny, but that it was just so I know it was an ambitious episode, and this was an old Doctor Who writer who came back. I think this writer wrote for Sylvester McCoy, the Seventh Doctor.
That makes a little more sense.
And it feels like one of those episodes, like one of those long serials pushed together. And I almost would have preferred they would have gone old school BBC and did like a practical monster instead, because you could tell they just ran out of money for the CG. Yeah. And they didn't show the monster at all, which was an interesting concept. Everything was an interesting concept, you know, the missing Ninth Legion. But it fizzled, and it didn't carry the overarching story forward.
That was going to be my commentary, is like, as good as these episodes can possibly be, like this episode at its best is still a segue on what we're looking for, right? So it's like we're on this journey, and this episode is a detour, and it's always going to be a detour. So as good as the detour can be, as pretty as it can be, it's still not the drive we wanted to be on, right? Like it took us out of our way. And I think that's the problem, is it's fun, it's good, it's written well, right? Like there are definite positives. That both of these last two episodes have looked beautiful.
Yes.
The art direction, the costuming has been great, but these are still, there's no thread. Like I've lost the thread of where we're going. I have no idea what this season is about. You know, I mean, it's not, I don't have no idea, but it's disparate threads that, and I feel like that's the problem, is the Doctor Who I've enjoyed is not the old Doctor Who. It's the modern era of Doctor Who. It's the Buffy of it all, the season arcs, the little breadcrumbs that get left throughout the season that all are like, oh, at the end, right? And maybe they're doing that, but those breadcrumbs are being dropped really far apart if they are. And that's what I'm missing from this season. So like the individual episode, it's hard to critique because it's good, it's fun, but I don't know why it exists in the first place.
Yeah, this is a great, I totally agree. This is a great argument for the writing room that they are going to be going to with Chris Chibnall. And that's, you know, how they do Flash and Arrow. And they even get together, you know, it's mostly the same people writing, you know, the 4 different CW superhero shows. And, you know, they have their slow moments too, but they all move things forward. And every episode, even if it's standalone, does that arc. And that's what people want. That's what I want personally. I would be okay with Doctor Who being 10 chapters of one story or 12 chapters of one story. Right. I like, you know, like all like Game of Thrones, American Gods. I think that's where they need to go with this show.
We had a really fun we do some of our more fun discussions off camera before and after podcasts that we do, because I feel like we can be a little more unfiltered. But one of the things I think we both touched on, because we don't agree on a lot of shows, like we like a lot of the same shows, but we also disagree on a lot of stuff. But the main thing that ties your and my taste together is an element of the soap opera, of the soapiness. You know, we both enjoy that. And it's a taste. It's always going to be a taste thing. But that's the thing that you and I think, an element in the shows that we like that's always there is this kind of serialized relationship soap opera that goes on. And that's where this season of Doctor Who has felt so where it's fallen a little short, right? Like this season doesn't have any connective tissue to it, or any, like, if it does, it's very thin, right? And so I think that's the issue. I think that's why I'm finding the season to have gotten to be a little bit slow. Like I loved the first few episodes when they introduced Bill and like that relationship was forming and there was this mystery of what's in the vault, although it became pretty obvious at a certain point what was in the vault. It was when that stuff stopped being new that the season started falling apart for me. Or not falling apart, but just kind of falling flat for me.
It did. It had a good beginning and it fell flat. And I went back, I got a little fired up about Doctor. I was excited. I thought this would be the starting of the Master returning arc. So I took the time this week, and also because I love Doctor Who, I rewatched all the modern Master episodes, and they're all great. they're all great. Even the Missy ones, they're the Missy ones are the standout of the Capaldi era. And I went back and, season 9 starts out with the Magician's Apprentice, and they go back to Scarro, and they got Davros. That was such a great episode. And, it brought back the Shadow Proclamation from the 10th Doctor. And it really got into the modern lore instead, which Moffat doesn't like to do. So that, I thought season 9 was great. I really did. I thought that was a shining moment, a return to form. And then, I'm not going to go into it again. The year off was just fucking terrible. And then, if you're going to take a year off, you need to come out with something great. And it just looks like Moffat, and Mark Gatiss, who wrote last week's episode, got a lot of news in England this week by saying, running Doctor Who is like drinking out of a poison chalice. He's got a lot of criticism for that, but it's probably true because you got assholes like me on the internet questioning. But Moffat agreed. I don't know whose idea it was to take a year off, and I don't know what he was doing. I think he was working on Sherlock.
Yeah, which also took time off. So.
Which also took a bunch of time off, and I heard was pretty good. I didn't see it, but it cost us Doctor Who. It flat out cost us Doctor Who. And that's why, this happened to Joss Whedon too. He took on too many shows and it buried him. And I think it cost us a couple of seasons of Buffy and Angel. And that sucks. Because I think it's just, in the modern era, I think it's just too much for one person to do more than one show, especially when you have people speculating. And this is what you want, by the way. If you Doctor Who production team, if you're complaining about people coming on the internet and giving you free commercials and free time for your show, yes, we're going to get critical, but we love the show, so we're mostly positive, and we're going to promote your show and ask for nothing. Just give us some, it doesn't have to be perfect all the time,
talk about.
But give us something to talk about. And it really fell so flat. And you're right. We were just, and some of our more salty conversations are on our Facebook message group, which is that, I don't know. Are we that filtered? I try not to be.
No,
but
we're not that filtered, but like I think we're more unfiltered when it's just us, but we try to speak our minds as much as possible in this podcast.
Yeah, I can get a little salty, but so yeah, there was nothing big about this episode. There was another Game of Thrones actor. The girl who was the keeper of the gate was Sam Tarley's sister from last season. And the previous episode, we had Ian Beadle, who was Sir Meryn Trent, who Arya killed at the end of season 5.
God, I didn't recognize either.
He was one of the English soldiers. Yeah, well, he was the guy who gave one of the sergeants the drink that knocked him out, and he got eaten or killed by the Empress of Mars. So that makes 21 Game of Thrones actors who have been in Doctor Who, which is awesome. so I forgot to bring that up last episode. So let's stay on the positive instead of just basking on this episode that was basically a bore fest. Let's do some speculation on what do you think is going to come up now. I don't think it's an accident that these last 2 episodes were very similar. They concerning.
Can I say one more thing? I want to say one
sure
before we get to what we really are probably going to talk about most tonight. We might also be missing something as American viewers in this episode about Roman Empire expanding into Scotland, right? Like there may be sentiments that we're not as familiar with, or you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's an aspect of this history episode that we're not as connected to as a lot of the audience at Doctor Who. So I just wanted to throw that out there and say like this episode may not be really aimed toward us as like American viewers of the show. Like if when they do the Agatha Christie episode or whatever, like we have experience with those kind of those cultural milestones from Britain, and you and I are connected to a lot of that stuff, like all the music we listen to, whatever. But the history of like Scotland is not something that we really bask in or have learned much about. So I think that that's one of the things that maybe I was missing from this episode, was just I don't think I was connected to it in a way that maybe some of the British, Scottish audience might be. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Yeah, well, it was an and I won't say it was anti-colonialism, but it was definitely pointing out the bad parts of colonialism, which there are a lot of them, certainly, but conquering is conquering. But the last episode and this one both, that's another thing they shared, was the anti-colonial sentiment of people coming in and taking over and taking over culture and sucking cultures dry, and that's what the Romans did. I mean,
it's an interesting 1-2 punch where you have like British colonialism and then like Roman Empire building, and like you can see the effects of those mentalities in both of the episodes back to back. One is you know what I mean? Like, I think it's an interesting 1-2 punch there.
Oh, totally. Well, and one morphed into the other. I mean, it was just, and I think they lightly came across like, yes, empire building was horrible, but if you look at it at like a historian without any emotion and just look at like what they did, they built a lot of stuff, but it was on the backs of the slaves. But do you like that indoor toilet? I mean, that's the Monty Python argument. Fuck the Romans, except their plumbing. It's really good. But yeah, that was definitely in there. There was some girl power in there, which is cool. I do love when the doctor kind of put her in her place when he's like, "You're an amoeba. What are you doing guarding the gate?" And
Yeah.
but and I did like that they came together at the end. I got suckered into that, and they went to go fight it in the dimension forever. I kind of like that. That was cool. I wish there was more of that. You know what I mean? Because the ending was pretty cool, but getting there was kind of rough. And I found myself pausing the episode a lot and getting up and doing shit. So, which you don't want to do during a Doctor Who episode. But, into the speculation now, we were just talking about this before we started our podcast, and I'll let you, speak your words about how'd you feel about the Missy, stinger at the end?
So I didn't, I found the previous Missy segments from this season to be more interesting. I am not connected enough with the character to have that moment have a lot of meaning to me, like her with the music. I don't know. So I'm missing something for sure. But because of what the episode was, I didn't. I wasn't in the mood to appreciate that moment, right? Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, it didn't bring me on a journey to that moment. It just kind of did it, right? It just kind of happened in the very end. And so that was my problem, was I just felt disconnected from it. But Missy's still my favorite part of the season so far. Like, the speculation around if she was in the vault, the speculation around what her plan is the most interesting stuff right now.
Yeah, definitely. And the doctor letting her work on the TARDIS. And I love the fact that she's like, "Do you ever work on this thing?" He's all, "Nah, I plan on getting around to it," but
it fixes itself.
We needed way more of that, because that felt disjointed. Like, all of a sudden he just let her out of the vault, pretty much last episode, and now she's working on the TARDIS. We need to work more of that, because there's so much mistrust. And remember, in The Witch is Familiar, which was the second part of The Magician's Apprentice, which started out season 9, he was really fucking pissed at her and left her to die on Skaro. Okay, I mean, that's so now, we're missing a huge part of the story that maybe comics will fill, or an audio series later. They're really good about that. Actually, I can highly recommend their Big Finish audio series. Are so fucking good. They are so good. It felt really disjointed. It didn't feel authentic. And we know Missy is setting up the doctor. Okay, I mean, unless they plan to pull a fast one on us, and like she really is good.
Well, I did find her statement where she was like, she kind of did a wink nod of like, oh yeah, because I always have a master plan. I forget exactly what she said, but like she mentioned like, kind of like, oh, it's part of my devious plan or whatever. And she said it in such a sarcastic way. It's hard to take her, like, it's hard to look at that and say like, oh, she's screwing with the doctor, because in the moment it seems so genuine. Like she's kind of saying to him like, look, I'm not always trying to screw with you, she's usually trying to screw with him. So
Yes.
we can either look back on that moment where you're like, wow, she was just like basically came out and said exactly what she's doing to his face and just did it with a wink and a nod. Or we can look back at that moment as the beginning of her coming around to his, to his side. So I think that that's a crucial moment. I think it just, we don't know what it means yet.
No, and where it was done so well is Utopia, which is the first return of the modern master. It was in season 3. So it's one of my favorite all-time episodes because Derek Jacobi is playing the old master, and he starts out as Dr. Yarna, the sweet old man, and you find out he's got a fob watch, and Captain Jack's in it, and it's got this whole story where they travel to the end of the end of time because Captain Jack grabbed the TARDIS, and the TARDIS is trying to get away from Jack, and it turns into this master episode, and it's got this just great editing and music and build up, and this it's everything that this isn't, and I just hope that changes. I really want it to change. I feel that the Cybermen are coming next week. The old version of the Cybermen. I think that's just a cover. Kind of like they've thrown the Daleks in sometimes. We're like, the Daleks are coming back, and it really is just kind of how they used the Daleks in Day of the Doctor. They were a part of it, but they weren't actually fighting them. I think that's what we're going to coming, and this is going to be full blown like Masters. Now, we're going to get John Sim back. I don't know if we're going to get multiple Masters. That's been the rumor. Derek Jacobi, who played Dr. Yana, is coming back to do audio adventures. So it makes me wonder if he might pull a cameo next week. That would be amazing. I'm hoping they pull out all the stops, John, these last 2 episodes. I hope we get a Captain Jack cameo. I hope I want to see every old good Moffat character run through. What are you hoping for in these last 2 episodes?
Well, look, John Barrowman has been busy.
Yep.
He's been all over the place. In fact, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. I've mentioned that I like soap operas. I never saw them before. I've been watching Desperate Housewives, and I had no idea he was like a big part of one of the seasons. Like he's everywhere in American television right now. I know that was a few years ago, but like with all the CW stuff. So I don't know if we're going to be getting any Captain Jack.
Probably not
soon. But that said, as long as we get a like meaningful showdown between John Sims and Missy and the Doctor, or John Sims and Missy and the Doctor, like as long as we get some sort of an interesting showdown that has some sort of some teeth to it, leading into the Christmas episode, that's all I think I'm looking for at this point, because they haven't brought us on a journey this season from the beginning. They've had a mystery about Missy that they dangled in front of us for 6 episodes. And then they've had, okay, what is Missy doing, dangled in front of us for 3 episodes or whatever. And now we're just going to find out what Missy was up to, or at least, find out what she's up to now. And we know we're going to get some interesting stuff with the Master. We better get some Daleks in there. We're going to see the Cyberman. But look, I think that the main drama should be around I also think we need to get some more about Gallifrey out there. Like I think that they've left that behind, and I think that we need to close that thread before a whole new team takes over on this show. So whether it's the Christmas episode is all about Gallifrey and they close out all the Master stuff in the next 2 episodes, or the Masters are fucking with Gallifrey, like that would be more interesting to me. But as long as we get both of those things in some way, a master plan, if you will, and Gallifrey, I think that's we've only got 3 episodes left. So stay focused, I think, on those two things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and maybe after these 2 episodes, we'll see the season differently. Like there'll be a bunch of nuggets throughout these episodes that we just didn't catch. And I think you referred to that earlier, and that could make the season more enjoyable. I want him, Moffat tends to forget ideas he's laid out or just, not care about them. He has a lot of throwaway stuff, but the last time we saw Missy in season 9, I've mentioned before, she said, when she got left on the Dalek planet, she said, I've got a clever plan, and I'm hoping this is it, and if she hatched it with the Daleks or while on Skaro, there has to be, some, crossover. And I don't know, was Davros going to come back? The one good thing is there have been no spoilers. I have no idea what's coming other than John Sim. I've been all over Reddit. Nobody has any idea what's going on. So if Moffat wanted to just do this to suppress spoilers, which I know he hates, he succeeded. He's totally succeeded. I have no clue what's going to happen. I'm going to be, thankfully, I think we're going to be surprised. And I've got a good feeling. I think these last 2 episodes are going to be really good. And they are doing a new and different regeneration. I'm looking forward to that. And then they're going to have to reset it for a hard reboot, they said. And a hard reboot it got confirmed. I might have mentioned it on our thread, which I kind of see as just bad news, is we're not going to get season 11 until the end of 2018. So that's pretty much another year wait. So we took a year off, had a season, and it's going to be another year, a calendar year. And I don't think that's good. I just don't. I think that's a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of shows. So here's the silver lining is that it's going to be a year off in between like a reboot time. There's going to be an ending to this, and they're ending an era. It's going to be a send off, and then it's going to go away, and then it's going to come back in a brand new way, right? So instead of just leaving off and coming back and just having a huge time in between, there's going to be a lot of news coming out about it. There's going to be a lot of hype surrounding it. And I think the year will move quicker. And I think when it comes back, it'll have a new energy to it rather than just kind of taking off a year in the middle of a show that you're doing with the same people and the same writers. You know what I mean? So I think that it makes more sense now than it did before, but it sucks. Game of Thrones has been gone for a long time now, and I'm starting to, forget how much I loved podcasting. You know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time, and you make room in your brain and your heart for other things, and then it's hard to get back into that mode in a lot of times.
Yeah, you break the spell, and when they changed from 10 to 11, they did it in a few months, because you had 2 different crews working. And that's what they're going to be doing here, is they could have easily been filming at the same damn time. Another big news is the new Doctor has been cast. That is a fact. We don't know who it is, but Russell T Davies let it slip that the new Doctor has been cast, which we've known that. And I think the new Doctor has been cast for probably a month.
Yeah, and I think that because remember the betting markets were all going crazy around like Tilda Swinton and like a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden all of that went away, and it was like it's that dude from
Love Actually, the guy with the red hair, which I'd be totally okay with.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it was like that guy, and there was no other speculation about it, and then all of the speculation went away, and I think that probably happened because it's him. And it was figured out, and they didn't, so, and the PR machine just kind of pulled back. So I think that we know I would be surprised if it's not who we think it is at this point.
They took a huge hit on the merchandising front, so that's going to play a big part of this. And you know what? It's over there, and I don't want to go get it, but you just have to take my word for it. Every month I go to my Barnes and Noble, and I get my Doctor Who magazine, and I get a stack of my Doctor Who comics, which I love. They're so good. The Titan comics, they are just wonderful. And that's actually the only comic since I sold my store, have been continually reading is Doctor Who. and they did a special on all the Doctor Who toys, 60 years of almost 60 years of Doctor Who toys. And as you can see, I'm very passionate about these, but I'm an action figure connoisseur. Okay. I've been collecting action figures since I was 7, since Star Wars. And I can honestly say the best made action figures are the 5.5 inch Doctor Who action figures. Their sculpts are great. Their paints are perfect. They're done with beautiful detail. They have a great variety. They are priced right. They are not over articulated. They're the perfect meld of articulation, and you could still play with them as a toy and stand them up without, having to use a stand, like with Marvel Legends and stuff like that. They're great toys, which we will be giving away some more at the end of the series. They take a huge hit. I told you last episode, I got an email from Big Chief that our sales went to crap and we couldn't produce anything. And, reading the magazine, they said the same thing in the magazine. They said, well, taking the year off really, put a hit in the toy market for Doctor Who. And, Capaldi hasn't been selling toys at all. As a matter of fact, they haven't released his action figures. They've only released one line. Everything else has been released in England and Australia, but they haven't released it at all.
They're still making Tennant and Matt Smith toys, and
they are, and they sell. And the Capaldi ones all have black hair. Like, they don't give them gray hair. It's like, okay, so I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see what they do. I still love Doctor Who, and I look forward to what's coming, and I look forward to doing long, detailed podcasts over the next 2 weeks, breaking down just a mind-blowing episode. That's what's going to happen, right, John?
I certainly hope so. No, I think so. I don't think that there's a way that, like, if you look at the way that he does Sherlock, right? Like, it's 3 episodes a season. They're hour and a half long, or hour 45 minutes long, or something like that. And every episode is its own arc. They're just all amazing. And I think that what he's done is just saved like his story for the hour and 45 minutes that we have remaining. So
yep.
I think that this is what they excel at. And I would be really shocked if we didn't get a really tight, interesting narrative with a lot of crazy shit happening.
Oh, he could do it. I mean, Day of the Doctor is probably my favorite Doctor Who episode. I mean, it was a 50th anniversary special, and you would expect it to be good, but I wouldn't expect it to be my favorite, but it was. It's so fucking good. So the man has still got it. Last season, he pulled out some gems. The whole hybrid thing, with Maisie Williams, I loved it. I loved how it started out where she was this innocent girl that the Doctor wanted to save. And then he saved her, turned her immortal, and then she turned into potentially this evil thing, for living too long and forgetting who she was. And it was like really interesting. And, and Bill has been great this season. She has been the shining light this season. Everything she does.
Been great this season.
Nardole really was good this last episode. He was the best thing in it.
Yep.
And he what a crazy, who saw that coming? The guy from the wacky River Song Christmas special turning into this like really in-depth character. I hope this isn't it for Nardole. I love Nardole. So yeah. I sorry for being negative. I love Doctor Who. I want this stuff to be better, but I'm not gonna lie either. If I don't like it.
Thing, like, what's your favorite episode this season?
Ooh, the pilot, the first one.
I would say like it was probably one of the first 2 episodes. And
second one's pretty good too.
Yeah. Anyway, but I was, there's just not a ton this season that stands out as just like, wow, and I think that's a problem with the ending your run on a show. You probably want a couple standout episodes in there.
Oh, most definitely. And when we look back on this after Christian Paul has announced they have a 5-year plan for Doctor Who, and I guess that's it. That's it. They're going to do no more. So they're going to do 5 more years of Doctor Who. Honestly, if they don't make the right decision, I don't think it'll make it that far, to be honest with you. And we'll look back on it and they will say, there'll be people who will blame the casting of Capaldi. Capaldi is a lot like Sylvester McCoy, who was the 7th Doctor, who came at the end of that series too. He did an admirable job. He was a good doctor, but he wasn't a great doctor, and the writing kind of, tuckered out, and that's just what happens to shows, and that sucks. So, because like this isn't gonna, I don't think it's gonna run for 25 years and 30 years like the first one did. But they also got, they got a few great doctors, that helps too, and a Tom Baker who stayed on for 8 years.
The show has the problem is that, can you imagine any other show where you replace your main character and expect to have the same fans be excited about that new actor playing that character? Like if they replace Buffy with someone other than Sarah Michelle Gellar after 2 years, or you know what I mean? Like I just can't imagine, like most shows would just be like, well, we lost whoever doesn't want to do the show anymore. Nathan Fillion doesn't want to do Castle anymore. Castle's over, like,
yeah,
we're going to recast Castle with someone other than Nathan Fillion. And I think it asks a lot of your audience to be okay with that. And I think that we've been lucky. Like for me, I had a hard time with Matt Smith after Tenet, and now I would love to have Smith back. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's one of those weird things where I think just the way the show is produced asks a lot of its audience to keep coming back to a new version of the character when the actor is so important to that character.
Absolutely. And again, not to bag on Capaldi, but I'm going to bag a little bit. With Capaldi, two of the main things that made me interested, and I think the new audience is interested in this series, you can't do, okay? Which is, you got kind of a dashing action doctor and a little bit of sexual tension.
Yeah.
Between you and the doctor and the companion. I missed it. I miss it. I actually miss it. It's like, the doctor's not going to actually hook up with a companion, although he came damn close with Rose. But the whole Rose and him thing was a romance. It ended tragically, but that's what was so great about the story. With Capaldi, you're never going to have that. Right. I mean, there's actually sexual tension between him and Missy, which is a little weird, but I mean, there is. Yeah, but there's not a lot, and that's the show is missing that. And actually, that's what Moffat excelled at. He was so good at the flirty banter. You know what I mean? Even with Amy being attracted to the doctor, like, screw Rory, on her wedding night, let's get it on, big man. That was fun. That was funny. And actually, Clara,
yes.
Giving him little kisses on the cheek and stuff, and I know that's the stuff you and I like. That's what I go for, and it's missing, and you can't do that with Capaldi. So it was too jarring to go from super young Matt Smith. You could have gone to like a 40-year-old guy, like Eccleston. Go to Eccleston again. And the thing is, Capaldi is kind of another Eccleston. I mean, that's what he is. But just Scottish. So
yeah, I hear you.
Bum me out a little bit, that's all. But we had a great the other show we do was great tonight.
Yeah,
I can't wait to talk about it.
So but anyway, so if you want to see all the shows we cover, you can head over to nerdrotic.com. You can also follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/nerdroticpodcast. Please like us there. You'll get all of our updates, comments, things that we say about news stories that come out. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Jon Reed 16. That's Jon. There's no H in John. You can follow our official Twitter feed, which Gary manages, at Nerdrotics with an S. And please subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a star rating and a review there. It helps us a lot move up the charts. Oh, and Melissa's managing our Instagram account. So head over to Instagram. You can find Nerdrotic on Instagram. And you're probably, if you're not watching us there, head over to YouTube and subscribe to the Nerdrotic channel on YouTube. That helps us a lot. And any comments you leave, you will be put into a raffle that we're doing for the end of the seasons, the different seasons of television, and we'll contact you if we get picked for any of the prize packs that we do. So leave us comments over there on YouTube or on iTunes, and we'll be you may win something. So yeah.
Yes, we are doing some more Box of Impossible things. I noticed some commenters. What I'm going to do is we're going to save it till the final episode, and then we're also going to announce our grand prize winner. Our grand prize winner is going to win, again, I'm just going to point to it. You can't see it, but it's a 12-inch 10th Doctor from from series 3. It's not the Big Chief version, but it's the one that Character Options did. And I'll show you a picture of that. And we're also, I think if I can find it, we have an inflatable Dalek, which I might throw in too, and some other stuff. So there's going to be some fun stuff, but we will be announcing the prize winners at the end of, not the Christmas episode, but at the end of the 12th episode. We are also giving away during American Gods, we give away an Amazon gift card.
Yeah, we're going to go straight to American Gods. If you're watching live, wait a couple seconds, you'll get, and we'll be live to talk about American Gods if you watch that show. And yeah, we'll be giving away an Amazon gift card for commenters on that video. So
yeah, generally you got to say something nice. That's kind of the prerequisite.
Yeah, we probably aren't going to be picking trolls, but you know.
Yeah,
you can be critical but kind, and we'll, you'll be.
Oh yeah, no, like critical is fine. Making counter arguments, I love. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. And the commenters we do have in Doctor Who are wonderful. They're so wonderful. Doctor Who fans are the best.
Yes, they are. Yes.
All right. So on that note, may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Bye, Whovians.